You've been injured in a Florida car crash or through the negligence of someone else. You're dealing with treatment, missed time from work, and changes to your daily life. So the question is, what can you actually recover in a Florida personal injury case? Because it's more than just medical bills. And understanding this can directly impact the value of your case. So, in Florida personal injury law, damages generally fall into two categories: economic damages, things you can calculate, and non economic damages, things you feel and experience. Courts have held that Florida jurors are guided by their enlightened consciousness to equate the intangible nature of pain and suffering with monetary compensation, which is inherently a matter of sound judgment rather than mathematical calculation. Now, most people focus on the bills, but in many cases, the non economic damages, what the injury does to your life, are just as important, if not more. So let's start with the basics. Economic damages include medical bills, lost wages, future medical care, and maybe even loss of earning capacity. These are documented and calculated, but they only tell part of the story. Now, let's talk about the damages most people don't fully understand: non economic damages. These are the human damages, the human losses. And in Florida, they include pain, which is the physical pain you experience as a result of the injury. Not just immediately after the incident, but that ongoing pain, chronic discomfort, flare ups, limitations in movement because of the pain. Pain is real, even though it doesn't come with receipts. Next is suffering. And suffering goes beyond physical pain. It includes the overall experience of living with the injury, the recovery struggles, the daily limitations, the impacts on your quality of life. It's the difference between just being injured and living with that injury. Next is disability. And disability refers to the impact the injury has on your ability to function. That can include difficulty in performing daily tasks, limitations at work, reduced independence. This can be for the future, but you've got to be able to prove it to the jury. There's also physical impairment. Physical impairment is more specific. It's the measurable loss of function in your body, the reduced range of motion, the strength loss, the permanent injury to a body part. The courts have distinguished impairment as more of a medical issue, whereas disability occurs when someone is actually incapacitated, either partially or totally, from performing their employment or earning capacity. This is often supported by medical findings and impairment ratings. Next is disfigurement. And disfigurement includes visible changes to your body, scarring, burns, permanent physical alterations. This isn't just cosmetic. It affects how you feel about yourself and how others see you. A small hidden scar versus a large visible one. There's also mental anguish. Mental anguish addresses the psychological impact, anxiety, depression, trauma from the crash or injury, sleep disruption. Think emotional distress. This is often overlooked, but it can be one of the most significant parts of a case. There's also inconvenience, and this is about how your life has been disrupted. Things like extra doctor's visits and traveling for those doctor's visits, time spent dealing with the treatment, changes to your routine. One Florida court has held that the difficulty of allowing children to sit on one's lap could constitute inconvenience. Inconvenience sounds small, but over time it adds up. And then there's the loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life. This is one of the most important and most misunderstood categories. It means you can't live your life the way you did before. And examples include that you can't exercise the same way. You can't participate in hobbies that you once did. You can't enjoy everyday activities. For example, you used to be an active outdoors person and socially engaged, but after becoming disabled, you've become socially isolated and you're not able to engage in those prior activities. Courts are going to look at those prior activities that you once did, but you can no longer do or do as well. So again, such as dancing, socializing, and the psychological toll that it has taken on you. The key is examining the pre and post incident lifestyle and the extent of physical and emotional impairments, as well as the impact on daily activities and social interactions. It's about what the injury is taken away from your life. Now, in Florida, there's an important limitation. In car crash cases, you recover these non-economic damages only if you meet the permanent injury threshold. That's not the case for injuries caused by someone else's negligence in a slip and fall, for example. So these damages can be significant, but they are not automatically available unless they meet the threshold in car crash cases. I'll link to a prior episode in the show notes where I discuss the permanent injury threshold for car crash cases. But if you are injured through the negligence of someone else and it didn't involve a motor vehicle, the permanent injury threshold doesn't apply. In either situation, this is why documentation and medical evidence are critical, because these damages, they've got to be supported by your medical records, explained by your doctors, demonstrated through your daily life by witnesses like family, friends, coworkers, and yourself. It's not just about saying what you've gone through, it's about proving it. So, what can you recover in a Florida injury case? Not just bills, but the full impact the injury has had on your life. It's about making you whole as best the system can through monetary compensation. Now, I'm George Palaidis, a Florida personal injury attorney. Understanding your damages is the first step in understanding your case.